Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Another beautiful day here in South Florida, where we originate the program from, and we may have a heavy concentration on some local stuff that's going on here today. Most of which is the stuff that is not going on. Just, of course, that is a very upset Mike Lubie Lubitz. I mean, this was a phrase, I guess, that was out there for a while. It was sort of a negative, derogatory kind of reference if somebody said that you were not black enough, Luby, to a black guy.
Mm.
And that's kind of what happened here. Black Monday was not black enough for Mike Luby
Oh,
Lubitz.
for sure. Oh, for sure.
Because a dark cloud has been hovering as if it was 4 o'clock back in the summer days when I was at Calder Racecourse doing the racing report on Sunshine Network. And you could set your watch to it. 3:30, here come the dark clouds in from the Everglades. I would sit there on the roof garden where a bunch of friends of mine and I used to go up there and smoke a little weed. You could do that. Very relaxing. Point across to the stadium there that is now Hard Rock Stadium, and look over the track there and watch your money go up in smoke from a nice vantage point. I mean, and the problem was that there was a good chance, probably more than a 30% chance, you would be struck by lightning if you sat up there long enough. And you could set your watch to the lightning storms that were going to come in at 4 o'clock. Now, if you weren't a believer in climate change, Luby, all you had to do is look back at the history of South Florida weather, especially if you were in a location. I wouldn't say that called a race course by University Drive there and Hard Rock Stadium. They're not really Western destinations here, but they're certainly not on the beach.
No, it's like central. Yeah, it's like in the middle between east and west. The 441 area, University, is like central, I guess.
Did you notice, though, that there seemed to be less of this going on this year, Luby, in terms of the dark clouds coming about 3:30 in the afternoon?
Yes.
Pouring, blinding rainstorms. You'd be in your car, all of a sudden you get one of these flash rainstorms in the afternoon. You could not see. Your windshield became opaque. You may as well have been Stevie Wonder behind the wheel.
Yep.
And yet we would continue driving, which is the weird thing. Nobody pulling off to the side of the road. It's just like, well, I can't stop now. I got to get home.
Yep.
So you would be driving in horrendous conditions, but it seemed like it was a daily occurrence. I would say from June through like August.
September,
July, August, 4 o'clock every day, pouring rain.
100%. Yep.
And there's been a dark cloud, that same dark cloud that doesn't hover anymore. I mean, this past summer it was a little dry, wasn't it, Luby, by comparison?
100%. Rain till late July, and like you're saying, it wasn't at that time every day, and now that involves climate change. It's freaking weird. Yes, the rain situation is very weird down here compared to what it used to be.
No, get rid of those windmills, man. I mean, I'm going to be on that. Who's his environmental chair? Is there a secretary of the environment?
That works for Exxon. It's an Exxon president or something.
How effed up is this world right now? It's upside down. But Monday was not black enough for Mike Lubie Lubitz in a sense.
No.
That Mike McDaniel remains the coach of the Miami Dolphins. And not only does he seem to remain in a very secure situation, but I was just reading about Black Monday, and there were 4 coaches fired. There were already 2 other openings from earlier firings during the course of the season. That guy Callahan got canned by the Tennessee Titans early on. So that vacancy has been there, and the New York Giants fired Brian Daboll a while back. Somehow Joe Shane remains safe. GM is a very well-protected position, Luby. You only have 2 GM vacancies, 6 coaching vacancies, none of which involve, well, the Miami Dolphins don't have a GM. But reading the story about McDaniel today and his status, at least as far as he knows, and it's very vague. Are they not talking to this guy? Could they not just come down? Stephen Ross, where are you, man? Come down and tell the guy, listen, you got the job. Or else fire him. Make a decision.
Well, that's the indecision, and I just posted it on Facebook. Confusion is the biggest issue. You talked about this, and you're right. When it comes to relationships, like, it's not hatred, because hatred is the opposite of love, which is still an emotion. It's indifference. Not caring is the worst thing. Well, to me, when you're running a franchise, confusion is the worst thing. Not even being bad, because you can rebound from bad. We've seen bad management. The problem is confusion. And that's why I never liked Mike McDaniel, because he's not consistent in the way he calls games, the way he leads. He's confused. And I've always thought he was in over his head. And that's why I agree with you and others that I don't think it will turn around because I think he's just confused. I don't think he never picks a way. And to me, that's the worst way to do anything in life. Be decisive at least, even if you're wrong. Like the Dolphins are confused, and that's bad. Like pick and keeping him is horrendous. But at least there's a direction. It's why I can't stand what Florida State's doing, and it's why I'm really sort of apathetic to this upcoming season. But at least they said we're going to keep Norvell. Screw you. $60 million is money we're not paying to get rid of a guy. I don't agree with it, but fine. At least you went away. Like,
but at least too. Also, you have with Norvell. He's proven he's not incapable of coaching.
He's had success.
Team. I mean, he had an undefeated team just a couple of years ago.
He did, but my problem.
That wasn't a Larry Coker undefeated team either. That was a team that he had built that was floundering before he got there.
Yes, and it was they had a lot of stuff go against them that year, and they found a way to win, which is very much on the coach. So, but again, I'm just trying to point to things. It's decisiveness, decision, go for it. Like what they're doing now is pure confusion. Like I literally was trying to promote our show today and put in the headline something I really thought was real. Dolphins retain McDaniel. Here we go again. And then I'm reading all morning, and I'm like, okay, so they didn't retain him. Like he's going to be part of the GM search, but the GM will have the room to get rid of him if he wants. It's like,
how could the coach be part of the GM search if he wasn't just completely secure in that position? I mean, the guy's not going to bring in somebody that's going to fire him. That's not happening. So you would have to say at that point that you have a guy that you are, as you say, indecisive about being firmly involved in one of the most important decisions that you could possibly make. So you can't have both. And confusion, very good, Lubie. I like your analysis on this thing, confusion. Because and indecisiveness, and unfortunately, it's indifference. I'm not one of these guys that's going to advocate the fans are screaming for this, and therefore you have to respond if you're the owner of the team, that you have to go in the direction. Well, we've seen that happen, and we've seen it not work.
Yes.
The fans, now look, probably, as much as I hate to say this, and I'm sorry, Don. I'm sorry. I love you. Don Shula was very, very nice to me. For a man of his stature, he was always very cool with me. It wasn't like we were close. And you know, Lubie, I'm not like some jock sniffer that is hovering around so that I can get recognized as being a guy that knows this. It doesn't hurt to have connections in this business.
Yeah, it's fine. But you're more natural, organic. You're not a forced guy.
Look at a much, I mean, you talk about derisive comments about a guy coming back to a radio station. This Craig Carton.
Oh, God.
Goes on WFAN yesterday for the first time in a while after he left for a failed Fox program. Some guys have just a zillion lives in this racket.
Yes. Well, he's been bad. He's gotten punished. He also done illegal things.
He was in jail not that long ago. All right. And, a criminal activity that obviously hurt a lot of people in the process. I don't know if he had to make restitution to these people, but it was like selling bogus concert tickets or whatever. And they got nailed because he had a gambling addiction that had escalated to the point where it was beyond dangerous. I mean, that's the kind of thing that ends up getting you killed, right?
Yep.
Unbelievable. But he managed to survive that. Whatever. Let's hope he's gone in the right direction in that regard. People deserve second chances. That's for sure. And I would imagine he'll never get involved in that sort of thing again. You would think. You would hope. That being said, there's some appeal that I haven't quite managed to pinpoint. And it's not like I've listened to a ton of Craig Carton, but I've seen enough of him to think, what is it about this guy? Remember when we saw him there in the Radio Row at the Super Bowl? That was when this trouble was really about to pop. And so you can understand why he looked a little sullen and distant. Because it was shortly after that Super Bowl that we saw him at. And I remember we're looking and going, man, that guy does not look happy. How could you do this job and not be happy about having a job like this? Are you kidding me?
100%.
It's crazy. But what he did yesterday, and this is what I began to say about having relationships and how it's good. Hey, look, we were lucky when we did that 10th anniversary show. Look how many people showed up for us.
Yes.
And it's not because I went out of my way to stroke people. I mean, I don't go out of my way to show up in places where Pat Riley might be or never did. But we always had what I thought was at least mutual professional respect,
100%,
which isn't always easy to gain when you're somebody that's kind of trying to have fun with all of this stuff. I mean, we are not the Jack Webb School of Journalism here. Just facts. In fact, we rarely deal in facts. Is that a decent way to? In fact, we rarely deal in facts.
We don't deal
We
in
deal in
lies
facts. Look, you want to be
either.
accurate. Yeah.
We want to be accurate. We just don't hammer it, and we don't take anything too seriously in regard to the facts.
Because most of the analysis is inane. It's the same stuff over and over again. You're not giving anybody any great insights by saying, well, you know what? Their defense is really going to have to stop Derrick Henry. Oh, whoa. I was going to blindly watch this game and never even think that was a consideration. Of course they have to stop Derrick Henry. He's the only thing that these guys have at this point. What are you talking about? Although that tight end made a hell of a catch there. Is it Likely or Lively, the tight end for the Ravens?
Likely.
Likely, man, that guy.
I think they had a Lively, but I think his name's Likely.
What a catch he made there before that kicker blew that. I mean, that game will stay. It left an indelible impression on me, that particular ball game. And I have another one that left an indelible impression with me from last night that we'll get to. But this Black Monday was not black enough for Mike Lubie because you have Mike McDaniel. It doesn't seem likely to turn into Don Shula overnight. I mean, this guy just doesn't seem like he's headed in the direction where all of a sudden something's going to snap and he gets it and is able to just orchestrate victory after victory, much of which you look at and you say, wow, that clearly has Mike McDaniel's coaching stamp on it. That they don't perform nearly this well if it wasn't for the fact that man was on the sidelines. Now, maybe there aren't many coaches that you could say that about. I mean, look at all the retread syndrome. And I was the first one to say, hey, it shouldn't be such an aversion to trying new blood and new guys in circumstances like this. Why don't they always go back to the same retread coaches? They always go back to the Dan Quinns and, I mean, maybe he's done some good where, and probably was compromised this year because of injuries. But
And I heard a lot, yeah.
But it's always the same guys, right? Of the guys that were fired, I don't know how many of these guys get jobs. I saw some speculation on show last night, Golick and Golick. Mike Golick is doing a show with his son.
Yeah.
And it's actually very good. As these talk show goes, they do a really, really nice job. I have to say, I was not a big fan of Golick Jr. necessarily. I thought that was like nepotism that he got.
100% nepotism.
Mike Golick happens to be a super nice guy when you meet him.
Very nice guy.
Very nice guy. I remember before he really got started, his career was launched by the one and only Chris Visser in
100%.
Arizona. That's how he got started. And Visser was turning things around at some radio station in Phoenix. And he decided to bring in Mike Golick as his morning guy, part of a two-man morning team. I don't know who the other guy was, but Golick certainly went on to distinguish himself, and he's very good. And they were talking about all of these different coaching situations, and they were speculating that the only guy that was probably going to get a job out of the fired coaches, Pete Carroll's probably done, right? You got to figure.
He's just older, because to me, I caught me off guard, and I realized they're gonna have the number one pick. They're going to want to start over. You don't want to do it's in a new world offensively now from what he's dealt with like that.
I would trust Carroll, even though he was a defensive coordinator. I would trust him to run an offense. He did very well with a lot of people.
He's been really good. I like him, but from what I saw, that was, I guess, the contention is that it's a new NFL, it's a new day, and you want to have a young guy at the helm, I guess. But I don't get is he was that old last year and you gave him a 3-year deal. So I don't get that, but I guess they thought they'd be good. So he's better for a good team. I guess if you're rebuilding, you'd rather a young guy. I don't know. That's what makes most sense. I'm a big fan of Carroll, and I could see I would have been happy to have him here or McDaniel, but it seems like he's done.
Are he and McDaniel, in terms of ability to get the Dolphins to be a consistently winning franchise, are he and McDaniel at about the same level? Probably so. So you got the younger guy there should be some upside with McDaniel as a coach if you were going to keep him around. That would be my contention. That if I'm running the organization, which let's face it, we all do a much better job than the people that are running it. But I would question this: what is the upside with this man as a head coach? The last 2 years have been a scathing indictment about the idea that you can take some genius offensive guru and just all of a sudden give him all the responsibility for everything that goes on the field. And once again, I just don't know how a guy could coach a team. When have you ever? What if Red Auerbach just sat there, watching the end of that cigar that he'd light up, the human victory cigar? He'd send in Hank Finkel, and then he'd light up an actual cigar. But what if he never looked out on the court? I mean, what if he just sat there with his program? Let's see, who do we got left on the bench here? how can you coach that way without ever watching a game? I don't understand it. That is the most unfathomable thing I can possibly conjure up about a head coach where he's never looking out on the field, never, not one time. So the fact that this guy is so solidly entrenched there, it illustrates the idea that for whatever reason, whoever's advising Stephen Ross and the people that have all this animosity towards Stephen Ross and say, you got to make him sell the team. He would be the kind of owner that, in general, you would like. Not somebody that's going to have a lot of knee-jerk reactions to things. He's not inserting himself into the storyline like a Jerry Jones. He's clearly not meddling with what's going on in the front office or on the field. But at some point, I mean, if he was as indecisive in his real estate business as he is in terms of running this organization, and when he is decisive, he tends to make the wrong decision.
Yes. Well, it's literally, if it was like Mickey Arison, right? And right out the gate, he hit on the right guy.
Yeah.
We'd love him because like Mickey Arison, for the most part, I know now because they have this luxury tax crap where the money is just so stupid that I'm not mad when a guy's worried about the money a little bit. Like it's like three times the dollar or 5 times. Like that's like the stuff that the Warriors pay or we're paying is just dumb. Like, but until then, Mickey Arison never had a problem spending, and you never heard about him around personnel. And because he found the right guy, it was great.
And he was decisive in that because I think
they fought for.
There were other considerations there, and he just said, "Look, Pat Riley's going to be running a small club."
Well, I think he did trade. He was willing to do whatever it took to get him from the Knicks, which the Knicks weren't. Checkits was not willing to give him personnel stuff, and Arison was willing to go on the mat and do whatever the hell it took. So that's why you got Riley, and that's why you got Riley's loyalty for all these years, and that's why they've chained the Heat into a top 3 or 4 franchise in the NBA over the last 20 years, whereas before they were a middling to lower level franchise. But it's because he hit on the right guy at the beginning and he went all in on it, right? Like Ross has gone all in on guys. He did it with Parcells. Like he tried to get his Riley, and Parcells should have been that. Parcells was not that. And Parcells was more like Marino in the sense that he was ready to not be involved in football anymore. And he just took the money and ran. And from that point on, Ross has tried to find the Riley and just done such a bad job at it that him being hands off has actually looked like he doesn't care. And that's
he has faith in guys too. And look, that everybody always talks about it. It's the C word in sports in terms of talking about coaches in front office. Continuity. That's the word that's always referenced, and there's a lot to be said for it in some ways. But if the continuity is just a constant mediocre and subpar result, then why would you want to go ahead and quote unquote continue in that fashion? But without trying to think of something else. I mean, if you completely strip this down right now and build it up with another coach, you are going to have another general manager. But and I'm surprised how few times, especially this past round of Black Monday exits and exit visas and pink slips, the GMs tended to survive in situations where you were more likely to be able to point the finger at them. I mean, guys that were dealing with just lousy personnel situations. As you said, in Arizona, what's this guy Gannon supposed to do? He's got nothing.
There's not a lot of talent there, man. Yeah. And Murray was supposed to be the guy. He's always hurt, and they gave him a ton of money, and he's clearly not the guy. And Marvin Harrison Jr., who should have been a world beater, is non-existent. But again, that's not Gannon. And so but at least, you know what?
His record is the kind of thing that gets you fired, though.
That's fine. That's why I'm not even mad at Arizona for doing it. You know what? I think you keep doing it until you find the right guy. My problem is the Dolphins don't. Like, what's funny about Ross is he finds the wrong guy and gives him too much time. Like he believes in continuity too much. Like it's like you give Philbin an extra year, you give Sperano an extra year, you give Gase an extra year, and now Flores was the one guy that earned the extra year, but because he went against your wishes, you didn't give him the extra year. And McDaniel was getting 2 extra years because really should have been fired last year. Last year should have been fired. The fact that he may come back next year, that's 2 extra years to me that you're giving him. And again, the differentiation to me between like a Cristobal and like a McDaniel, and I don't like Cristobal. I do not think he's a good coach. But you know what? His team's improved. To me, and it's why I didn't like Willie Taggart, and I gave Mike Norvell a little bit of leeway. And now it's been 6 years, so now it's time for Norvell to go. but at least he showed growth. Do your teams get better? You said it. McDaniel's actually the opposite. He came in with a ton of talent, and his teams have descended into the oblivion, whereas Cristobal's team started bad, he realized,
He's
I don't know
a
how to.
good program builder, Cristobal.
But he also realized, I suck with quarterbacks. Screw it. I'm just going to go to the portal every year.
Yeah.
And now they're contending for the conference and for the championship, to be brutally honest, every year. So you know what? I don't like him as a coach. He hasn't changed his style as a coach, but at least he's changed his style with the program, and they're improving every year. Like, if you're not improving every year, you're actually going backwards. What is the point of you? You don't need continuity there. We've seen what continuity will do with you.
I'm laughing because I'm thinking we've already given this more consideration in the first 20
And
minutes.
the Dolphins, yeah.
Then the Dolphins front office. I mean, they just say, "Hey, Mike, hey, good to see you, buddy."
Well, it's what Perk said it either here, or he said it with Mayo, or someone else said it with us, that the Dolphins, because of all the drama that Ross dealt with early on with, I think the bully gate was under Ross, and the cocaine offensive line coach was under Ross. And remember, every year the Dolphins, that was the big joke. Every year the Dolphins had off the field stuff. That the last few years, especially under McDaniel, it's been one opinion, one mindset. They've had no off the field issues. They're so bad on the field that sort of is overshadow that. But no off the field issues. He as an owner hasn't had to field any weird questions. That he's okay because at least there's quiet. But it's but it's loud when it comes to the winning.
Yeah. Well, and do you have an opportunity to go ahead and, I hate to use this because we've heard it enough times, to go in another direction. And if you don't take it, which is what's happening here, I don't know what this new GM is going to be able to do, because the Dolphins 4 or 5 years ago were in a position to really make something happen. They were in the unfortunate, sorry situation where you're really bad, and all of a sudden, because of that, because the NFL is and most sports are hell bent on rewarding futility and rewarding the franchises that are the worst.
Yeah,
you would never see this. Like if McDonald's has a franchise that is just performing so poorly, and they go ahead over many years and pour all kinds of assets into it, and it's still failing. At what point do you say, hey, wait a minute, maybe there's something wrong with the system? Maybe these guys need to catch on to what everybody else is doing. And the only way to give them those incentives is to put and place the incentives for teams that have success, not failure. I understand the whole idea of trying to level the playing field, and that it would be bad for business, let's say, if there were half the games that were played are perceived to be completely non-competitive.
Yes.
Which a lot of them are, but nonetheless, what we already know, the nature of upsets, and especially this year in the NFL, it was almost an impossible thing to gauge from week to week who was in and who was out. But we know, and Jerry Glanville hit it on the head, NFL stands for not for long. You're going to have teams that streak and look good for 4 or 5 weeks. The Dolphins even had one of these mini streaks.
Yes.
And then, unfortunately, I mean, in general, they're going to revert back to whatever level of talent that they really have on the roster there. And you might get lucky. People are thinking that the Patriots, do you find this to be true, Lubie? The Patriots, should their record be denigrated because they had what appeared to be a soft schedule by NFL standards?
Their softest schedule since 1999.
Okay.
I mean, their schedule was an utter joke. But that's the thing. If you are supposed to be one of the bad teams, then it's
more rewarding of futility.
You playing, that's true, but also you're playing other bad teams, so it's not automatic that you're supposed to win. So yes, compared to good teams, they had a very easy schedule, but they were supposed to be a bad team. So they played who was there, they won the games, they were beating the crap out of the teams most of the time, and now we're in the playoffs, and we'll see how real they are. I mean, yes, they had a very soft schedule. Yes, that's why it's hard for me to take them seriously, but now we have the playoffs to see if they are real deal or not.
They really need to do this. Take a memo here for Roger Goodell.
Okay.
Give the top 10 teams a lottery shot, a weighted lottery shot at the top pick. And tell the 10 teams at the bottom, listen, you guys better figure it out, try to get better. Otherwise, they do it in Europe. I think that's a brilliant move, where if a team just doesn't measure up, you're out of the league. How about that?
Yes. No, I was going to say the soccer
thing together. Yeah, exactly.
The soccer's the move. I mean, the relegation thing, it makes you have to try. Every team has to try.
instead of putting a $100 bill in the pocket of what is the equivalent of a homeless franchise because they can't figure out what to do with their front office. And I don't know. I mean, you have in baseball, you have teams that don't spend. I guess they have their bottom cap, and they'll stay at that level. The floor and the ceiling there in Major League Baseball. Ceiling is unlimited, but is there not a barometer that you have to surpass
Yes,
financially?
there's a floor, 100%.
Yeah.
Remember, with the Marlins and all these Pirates,
Otherwise, the Marlins would spend zero.
teams weren't trying at all, and they got sick of it. The big money ball clubs were like, you got to at least try. Like,
And
you're
here's
just
what happens with indifference. Marlins coming off a good season, a promising season by any standard. I mean, they went from just absolute bottom dwellers to being somewhat competitive, finished near 500 for the year. And yet, because of the indifference that's set in and the fact that we know that they're not going to do anything significant at any time, not significant enough to be among the elite. Now in baseball, it's a little bit more difficult because you don't have that ceiling salary cap, and you have a team like the Dodgers that can go and practice. I think they just bought Japan, not even a player. They bought the entire country. Did you read about that? Dodgers owner buys Japan, and now you
their farm system, yeah, directly now, openly their farm.
used to be Albuquerque they were getting their players from. Now it's Taiwan and Japan or whatever. I don't know. We don't have Taiwanese baseball players, do we? But yeah, I mean they're getting everybody from Hong Kong. What the hell is that? Anyway, it's a big mess. It wasn't a black enough Monday for Mike Lubie. It's not only is Mike McDaniel, Dolphins coach, firmly entrenched in the coaching position, although, as he said, I have the job until somebody tells me I don't. So who's going to tell him, Lubie? If he's searching for the general manager,
I don't know. That's what I said to someone. I'm like, okay, if he's helping in the search for GM,
Troy Aikman, Mike McDaniel,
how will he then be fired? Like, he's not gonna, like you were saying, he's not gonna pick someone that's gonna even think for a second of getting him fired. Like
of course not. Why not just make Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or as Annie suggests, Maduro, the general manager of the team, and change the decision making. Anyway, it was more of the usual suspects that you would have figured. Get canned yesterday. Arizona, John Gannon. I would imagine most people didn't even know John Gannon was the coach of Arizona. I had to look it up. Pete Carroll in Las Vegas. That was a little bit of a splash because Pete had been out of the game for a while. He's 74 years old. He looks great, but wasn't able to muster up more than what did the Raiders won like 3 games this year. Kevin Stefanski is the guy that, as I said on the Golick and Golick show, Mike Golick was saying, and it was Bob Golick who was on Saved by the Bell, Andy's question here on the chat line. His brother, Bob Golick. But Stefanski was the one guy that they pegged as being a guy that would possibly be a head coach. They're clamoring for him already in New York, Libby. As
Stefanski's a legit. This idea that teams will want McDaniel makes zero sense to me. Like, he didn't prove it as an OC. His play calling is one of his major issues. So to then make him an OC is weird. But to keep him as a head coach is ridiculous. Stefanski's shown it. He was a solid offensive mind and was a good coach with the Browns. They screwed up with the Watson trade, gave up a lot of assets, put a lot of money into it, and he was done. So they've had to find a quarterback.
Killer was that, man?
Well, and then they gave Myles Garrett a huge deal. So putting all that money into two guys, one who's not even a part of your team, at least Myles Garrett's setting sack record, means there's only so much money you have to go and fill out a roster. So you either have to have a great quarterback or you're going to be bad, because if you're not going to have a great quarterback, you need to have a full roster of talent. You can't have a full roster of talent if you have no money. So they put him in a spot where he wasn't going to win. So he's a legit coach that I don't see why he wouldn't do another job. McDaniel, he's just over his head. I don't even know if he's ready to be an offensive coordinator at this point. Like, I would want to see him as an assistant to then a coordinator to then see if he's learned to be a head coach.
You ever feel like and know that you were doomed in a situation as it was developing, Louis? I had that happen to me with a couple of shows where I'm looking and go, oh my God, you know what? This thing is an abortion. The longer I'm a part of it, the more likely I am to never get another job in the business again. And that's sort of how you feel if you're a Dolphins fan. I don't see where the turnaround is going to come about. They could bring in some brilliant guy to be a GM, but it appears right away, even in conducting their search, I really don't know what Troy Aikman knows or doesn't know about the personnel people that are involved in the National Football League. Maybe he's much more highly connected than I would imagine. I'm thinking Aikman is very well respected by people. Color analyst. He doesn't move me one way or the other, but he sure looks good in the booth there. He looks like he knows what he's talking about. And is he among the better color analysts, would you say, Troy Aikman, or do you find him just.
He's fine. I don't know if he's as good as the lofty position he has, but I don't think he's as bad as some of the people make it either. Like, he just doesn't say anything. He does the job accordingly.
It's amazing these guys are getting paid the kind of dough that they are. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. I mean, you talk about being in a leverage position. All of a sudden, they're giving money away like there's no tomorrow. And these guys are available to do Monday Night Football. ESPN had screwed with the announcing teams for Monday Night Football for so long that we ended up with Booger McFarland in some space vehicle.
Yeah, he was in a car on the other side of the
pipeline. You have to be. How tough is this? Guy calls the play, 2nd and 10 from the 32-yard line, 4:52 to go in the first quarter. They're lined up in his shotgun, and Marino back to pass. And look at that. He found Mark Duper. And what does the color analyst have to do? I mean, does he really need to have like a zillion gimmicks at that point? He says, nice catch by Duper. I tell you what, that's a superhuman effort, Joe. It's not that difficult, right? I mean, how is that job worth like $20 million a year? That's amazing. To each guy. Where were we, Lubie, when they were handing out the cash?
I don't know. I've never taken to calling games, but I guess I screwed up because, yes, there's a lot of money in it if you can get to a decent position.
They weren't paying me that when I was doing those UM baseball games from Dark Lake Stadium.
Exactly.
And the Black Bears of Maine are in town tonight. They haven't played outdoors since last summer, but here they are tonight. Who was the hockey player that was on the Maine baseball team? Correa? Was that the guy? Paul Correa?
Paul Correa, yeah. I didn't know he was
like a third baseman with the Maine baseball team that came to town to play the Hurricanes. A couple of games that I called. I still remember that Sonny Hirsch pointing out to me, yeah, that guy's going to be in the NHL, man. Like, what are you talking about, Sonny? He's playing third base for this baseball team that look how pale these guys are. They have no chance to win. Just joking, speaking of not black enough, looking at their skin color, they haven't been out in the sun in 2 years. What are you talking about? We're going to come back with more, a lot more to do here. We have the Fiesta Bowl. I didn't even realize this until you mentioned it yesterday, Libby, that the Fiesta Bowl is Thursday night. I guess that makes sense. The college playoffs didn't necessarily want to bang heads with the National Football League, which is going to dominate the weekend with 2 games Saturday, 3 Sunday, and then a Monday night game, which is kind of an oddity. But the Fiesta Bowl is Thursday night. Miami 3.5 over Ole Miss. And you have the Peach Bowl then would be Friday night to decide the opponent for the national championship game here at Hard Rock Stadium, Lubie. Home game for the Canes if they can get by Ole Miss, which clearly the odds makers are thinking that's something that's going to happen.
Well, yeah, you have a fill-in coach who people didn't even think should have been made the head coach. He doesn't get an offseason, doesn't get anything. He becomes a coach because he was already on the staff.
That didn't seem to hurt them though against Georgia.
No, they got past Georgia, but you have that guy there, and you have a quarterback who was a Division II dude who is on the shorter side, and it's a style that is the antithesis to Miami's.
Who'd they play in the first round? Ole Miss.
One of the James Madison or Tulane.
Oh, they had Tulane, or
they played one of the randoms. Yeah, one of the stupid schools.
All right. No, I think Oregon had. Oregon had James Madison, I think.
I think they played one of them. Let me see.
Somebody else had Tulane. I don't think it was Ole Miss, but anyway, I mean, they won a couple of games and the further away they get from the circumstance, the more they have a chance to adapt to the idea that, hey, let's go get them. It's not over until we say it is. This is Plutarski City here, Libby, with Ole Miss. Chambliss is coming back, so that's probably going to encourage them. And it appears that their coaching situation is going to be squared away. So, and
they beat Tulane. Remember, Oregon played
Tulane, okay.
Madison, and they got the cakewalk, and it wasn't a bye. It was a nice, easy win to get them going. And a lot of people are saying that's why the byes hurt these other teams, because you're not playing at all, and they're playing, but they're playing like a cakewalk. Yeah. So it's just giving them experience.
Nice practice game.
So that's it. But so that's the thing is, on paper, it works for UM. Again, you're not playing the juggernaut Georgia with Kirby Smart. You're playing Ole Miss with Pete Golding. But styles, again, make a fight. And styles, again, make a sporting matchup. So you never know. It could be a style that helps UM, but it also, if they're able to get going, the style definitely will hurt you.
It'd be interesting for sure. I mean, very curious matchup. And as you pointed out, very good analysis, astute analysis by you yesterday, Lubie, on the program, talking about how the Canes were more likely to have success against some power-driven team where quarterback is less likely to take off and start creating plays, Caleb Williams style. And Cam Ward did it last year. And this really seems to be especially effective if you're talking about the college game versus the pros. It's working in the pros now, too, where the quarterback runs around like Fran Tarkenton for a while and then fires a ball down the field and somehow finds an open guy. They're becoming very good at that. And that's one of the biggest drawbacks there of Tua Tagovailoa, because to be that type of quarterback, I believe you have to be able to create plays by running the ball as well and at least be somewhat of a minor threat in that capacity. If you're going to be that type of quarterback, not the big strapping 6'4", 6'5" guy that's going to stand in a pocket and fire. And Tua just can't do that. I mean, he doesn't have any of that ability. And as unfortunately, and you would think his size and the type of quarterback he is, that he'd be rolling out like Kenny the Snake Stabler and making things happen down the field by running the football. And he never got around to doing that. He's been even more compromised since, unfortunately, his head seems to be comprised of silly putty. All right, we're going to come back with more. Lots more to do here on the program. Mike Lubie Lubitz, Jeff DeForest. Glad you guys are with us. Appreciate the comments on the chat line. As Lubie just absolutely bummed out that Black Monday did not bring about a giant shredding of the contract.
It's just annoying because the names that are out there they're doing what I wanted. They're going to like the 4 or 5 franchises that are not only good but have become good through building in the draft. They're really good at drafting. The Rams, the Packers, the Niners, the Eagles. Like those are I would throw in the Ravens. I don't know if they've interviewed anyone yet for the Ravens, but they've done what I wanted. Like guys that are VPs, player scouting, assistant GMs, like from these franchises, which they haven't done in the past. So they went outside the family. So they've done that. But the McDaniel's there, and they're saying he's involved in the GM hiring. So it's like so then what are you guys doing? Like anytime
who else is involved? Gloria Estefan, the Williams sisters. I mean, some of these minor investors that he had. Who else is he on the board? Is Condoleezza, back in the game? What the hell?
I don't know. So it hurts. It's like every time they give me something to be like, okay, they're like, no, don't get excited.
One time you want some ironhead, old school football guy involved. You want Fangio or some guy like that. Monty Kiffin, if he was still alive, the kind of guy making that decision. Not some bunch of I don't know. Do they even have analytic guys? They must, because they keep telling McDaniel to make really bad decisions. All right, we're going to come back with more in a moment. So I guess I don't know. The problem I have with this whole McDaniel thing and the Black Monday and not getting fired is I don't know that it matters. I really don't. I mean, they can come back and go. It's like, who was it? There's a story about some famous baseball player was looking for more money. It might have even been like Ted Williams or something. I don't know. Whatever. The guy's team finished last, right? And so he goes in looking for a raise to the owner of the ball club. And the guy goes, you know what? We could just as easily have finished last without you as with you. So, even though the guy was great, I don't see what's going to change. It doesn't appear that you're really going to see any progress one way or even the other, for that matter. I don't know that Miami's going to bottom out with this guy, but they're not going anywhere. So I'm with you, Lubie. I'm with you. I didn't expect this guy to get canned, but the idea that he's going to be around next year, like I said, among the most difficult jobs in all the sports is going to be trying to sell season tickets to a Miami Dolphin game. Trying to scalp them even, Louis. I would be shut out from my own thing by the turnpike. Yeah. Got 2, and everybody's, people are spitting at you, and they're throwing, spritzing you with beer that they have, just because they realize that you are in the most foolish position. You should be treated like a clown because you're trying to unload Dolphin tickets on the side of the highway. See a team that nobody gives a flying one about anymore. All right, back with more in a moment. Now that 8:40.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously. Friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the Joe Bees. The bees collect the pollen, bring it to Joe, he packages it, and he gets it to you. It's simple, 100% natural, and it's good for you.
There's only one place to get Joe Bees, and that's from me. Joe B.
If you want to look and feel good, call 877-300-5632.
Or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep, no more, and by asleep to say we end the heartache and 1,000 natural shocks.
What could that have been about except
Gambling.
to hedge or not to hedge?
The modern day odd couple, Defo and Lubie, are on now. It is, of course, the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Just to lighten things up, the treacheries of gambling, Lubie, and trusting somebody else's opinion. Many, many times. And this guy may be very good. I haven't seen too much from him. This is in my post-action top play from yesterday. I was reading this, and I was thinking, I don't know, do I want to get involved in this? This guy's making perfect sense. Perfect sense, Lubie. How about this? Okay, so this is a guy named Mike Teray. And he's writing about last night's game between the Knicks and the Detroit Pistons. I don't know if you saw the result of this game, but
my Knicks fan friends were not happy, so I presume the Knicks didn't play well.
According to Mike, before the game, the Knicks 23-12 and the Pistons 26-9 meet in Detroit on Monday night. Okay, let me get down to the nitty gritty of his analysis here. Pistons, essentially, he was saying the Pistons starters are hurting at this guy Jalen.
They're missing Duran, who's actually started playing really well, and they're missing someone.
And Tobias Harris, both going to be out.
Geez,
Kate Cunningham playing well.
Yeah.
Knicks are only laying 2 points in this game, laying 2 against a depleted Detroit Piston lineup. Every reason to believe also that they were going to get hammered on the inside. And he also suggests that Karl Anthony Towns, who's been playing well and is averaging 11.8 rebounds per game, second in the NBA, 23 double-doubles on the season, are third best behind Jokic and Jalen Johnson. So he says, aim for the Knicks to outpace the Pistons, who will be playing on the second night of a back-to-back following Sunday's win against Cleveland. The stage is also set, Lubie, for Towns to have his fingerprints on this game opposite a hampered Pistons rotation of bigs.
Yeah, he sucked, right?
The final score, was 121-90. I mean, where do you go? I mean, it's not like this guy said this was the game of his life, but where do you go after you lose the game of your life?
And then Towns, as a big against a team out there big, had 6, 1-1.
And they took him out of the game. He only played about 23 minutes. They realized they were getting hammered themselves.
Oh my God.
That is complete converse logic that actually took place. How look, if you read this in the morning, which I did on the throne, and you're thinking, you know what, that makes some sense, man. And the Knicks were on the skids that they had lost 3 in a row, and they're playing. I guess the in-season cup there, the NBA Cup tournament, is also its own curse, Lubie, because the teams that win that usually end up falling apart. Well, there's only been 3, right? Didn't the Lakers fall apart that year after they won the Cup?
Yes.
Milwaukee was eliminated in the first round in embarrassing fashion in the postseason.
Pacers. See, I think the Pacers were the runner-up one year, and then I think that was the year they did really. I think last year the Pacers might have been the runner-up, and they did find their way to the finals, but they didn't win it. Yeah, I don't know if anyone who's won it yet has actually done anything with it.
No, I don't think so, and it looks like it could be the case this year. James Dolan in that interview says he expects the Knicks to be in the finals, the NBA finals this year, and possibly win the championship. And he also owns the Rangers. I mean, talk about control. Nothing like being in the inheritance business. Do you think James Dolan would have a nickel in his pocket if his father didn't own like Comcast in New York or whatever it was? I think It may have taken on other forms since it originated, but he basically was getting your $100 every month if you were spending money on cable TV in New York or any kind of TV hookup for that matter. Where would James Dolan be? Is he a brilliant decision maker? He's usually just skewered by New York fans of the Rangers and the Knicks. He's always been in, sort of a center of controversy, getting in conflicts with players and fans. Seems to be despised by virtually everybody, Lubie. In contrast to Stephen Ross, who everybody says the same thing, right? It was like the Wannstedt syndrome, where, he's a nice guy, but completely inept at what he's doing. Okay. McDaniel, same thing. He falls into that category. All right, so what's your thought here? Did the Canes end up in the final game? And if they do, is it Indiana or Oregon, Mike Lubie? It's Mr. College Football. We're going to put the spotlight on you here.
Now do this now.
And see what you think about these two games. And let's face it, you can't do any worse than Mike Turre did.
Yeah.
In handicapping, as the team that he was laying 2 points with gets defeated by 31.
Yes.
31 points. And on top of that, the guy that he touted that was going to have the big ball game and dictate the pace of this thing. I mean, if you're wrong, you may as well be dead wrong, right, Louis? What difference does it make?
Yes, he went all the way in. Yes.
Your money is in the Bunsen burner. Just throw it in the fireplace because you are getting, destroyed in this game. And Karl Anthony Towns is going to go for all of 6 points. I was shocked to see that. I figured at least maybe he, salvaged some dignity out of this column with Towns having a decent ball game, but far from it. It was an abortion on all fronts, and those are the treacheries of gambling. So I'm going to put you on the spot with that as a setup, Lubie. And why am I feeling that Miami's going to beat? They're going to beat Ole Miss. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they're the favorite, and they've been able to beat 2 of the top 5 teams in the country. I mean, A&M and Ohio State were 2 of the top 5 teams pretty much the entire year, and they beat them. A&M had a very similar style to Ole Miss, and they beat them, and that style now was in the heavy winds, and Marcel Reed couldn't hit the side of a barn, so that made their style not work. But UM, with their style, won, and then Ohio State should have played with that style. They didn't. Ohio State tried to beat them at their own style, and Miami won. So it's like, okay, this way they're playing with the personnel they're playing, they've been 2 really good teams. So why should Ole Miss, who is a lesser team than both of those teams, be able to beat them? I don't know what to do with this because I think Miami should get past.
You can't rule out Ole Miss winning the game.
I think Miami should get past Ole Miss. I really do. Because I have not really believed in Chambliss at all. But like watching what he did versus Georgia, and Georgia was playing well in the game and up to that point. And watching, they were coming after him and him running around doing the Fran Tarkenton on either back plays or 2 out of the last 3 plays on that drive. I was like, okay, Miami's not better at this than Georgia is. I know this year they seem to be, but they're not. So it's like, he can do this to Georgia. And again, it's not like Georgia isn't scary to go up against or intimidating to go up against. So if he can do this, why can't he do it against UM? So it's like this wild card that it's almost like Miami's been getting that. Why can't Ole Miss, right? Miami was a team that was supposed to lose. Miami was a team that wasn't supposed to be there, and they're proving people wrong. Well, why can't Ole Miss do that to Miami? Why can't Ole Miss be the team to prove people wrong? So, like, as much as my gut says Miami will move on and then probably lose to an Indiana, Oregon that I think are better coached and
okay,
so you don't see him winning and smarter than them. Like, I don't.
Will they be there? Will they be there?
Ole Miss is going to find a way to win this game. Like, something tells me, like, being able to get past Georgia, there's no Kiffin to get in their way. Golding probably sucks as a coach, but he's new, so he may not get in the way. He may let the kids just do what they do. And Kiffin,
he pulled the right strings, and whatever his decision-making influence was, they played a really good ball game. And my theory would be this. I mean, one of the favorable things, I think, for the University of Miami is the very thing that makes you think Ole Miss has a chance, and that is this Chambliss was spectacular in that game. You couldn't have played a better game at quarterback for a team that was an underdog against a real powerful force. And can you duplicate that, though? Can you have that kind of magical game, 2 games in succession, which you probably will need to overcome the advantages that Miami seems to have over almost everybody in offensive and defensive line play. So, and if you were going to go Greg Cosell, who we referenced on the program yesterday, where you're trying to think, geez, if you were going to get a consultant, why not just bring in Boom Boom Mancini to help them with the decision-making process? Hey, Ray, you got a minute? Sports is so insane. I don't know how people like to take this so overwhelmingly seriously every day because it really is. But I mean, do you see that? How many times does a guy have a miracle game 2 games in a row? That would be. Usually, these things tend to balance out, right? You're getting away with stuff that your eyes are popped wide open, saying, "I can't believe this guy is 25 yards behind the line of scrimmage, on the border of taking a safety from his own 25-yard line." And somehow scrambles out of it and sends the ball down the field, and then not only picks up all of the distance that he was behind the line of scrimmage, but picks up 25 yards in the process, and follows that up with another like huge play after he had flicked the ball 5 yards forward. And it looked like he might have even done it left-handed. I mean, the guy really had a miraculous game from the standpoint of plays that could have just as easily blown up in smoke. Ended up being extremely favorable. So, does that happen 2 weeks in a row? That would be the question. It's a roundabout way of saying, how lucky can this guy get?
Yeah.
And if that luck runs out, because they needed every bit of it to beat Georgia. So
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
somehow Cristobal, in his brilliance, in the meetings that he's having with his staff, says, we need to not, we're not, it's the old thing. You're not going to totally shut the guy down, but you have to find a way to not let him do what he did last week in that victory over Georgia.
Yeah. Look, if you can keep him from the scrambling, he's a much less effective quarterback, and Miami could be able to do that. It's the first time I would lean Miami just because of, I think they have more talent. I think they've shown that no matter what goes on in these games, that the Tony fumble happens and then they come back, in the Texas A&M game. Like, they had some issues with Georgia they had some issues with Ohio State, where Ohio State was coming on, and I felt like Ohio State may win the game. Miami stood tall. Like, whether you put it on your
closing too. They're closing games in contrast to the Cristobal factor.
Yes. Whether or not you put on Ryan Day or not, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So to me, I would lean Miami. If I'm making a pick, I'd pick Miami, even with the spread. I'm just not uber confident in it. Like
you'll be driving Uber if you're wrong with this game.
As much
then you have to refund everybody's money that took your advice and laid the 3 in a hook. That's the treachery of being a public handicapper, as is the embarrassment of losing a game by 31 points that you're laying points in. And then having the guy that you touted is going to have the biggest ball game of his career, and he ends up with 6 points and 1 rebound in a season where he's averaging like 25 and almost 12. All right, and Indiana looked great. I don't know. You don't give Oregon any shot. They're getting 4 points in this game.
Oh, I do. That's the thing is because, again, it's hard to beat a team twice in the same year, and it was a tough game, hard-fought game that Indiana beat, or did they may have won decisively. I'm trying to remember that. I know the Indiana-Oregon game was a big deal, and then it was...
they won by 10 points. I think it was close for a long time.
It was a one game that Indiana showed, okay, we can play a top 10 team and win.
And that was on the road also, I believe.
It was. I think it was at Oregon. So I'm not discounting them. I just feel like I like Dan Lanning. The country likes Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning seems to be the guy that's every team would want as their coach, and he's not even willing to take interviews because he's happy at Oregon. So
here's a deep statement. He's very likable. He really is.
He's very likable, but he's also a good coach. However, and he's young, so I feel weird saying stuff like this, but it's now been a few years at Oregon. He's been competitive every year. He's recruiting at a level right equal to or just below an Ohio State, Georgia, and Alabama. But in these situations, they lose every time. So at some point, it's like, okay, when either he doesn't do it and we've been wrong, or he finally does it. I'm thinking this is the time he finally does it. This time he finally beats the team that he had trouble with. He did it with Washington, where they should have beat Washington with Bo Nix versus Michael Penix. They lost the first time, but the second time around, it felt like Oregon was really the team. They were the more talented team. They had the bigger name coach, the better everything, and they then lost Washington a second time. it's hard for me to believe that's going to happen again to Indiana. Like I think this time around he'll get his win, and I do think they're very similar talent-wise to Miami. They're very similar doing style of play to Miami. However, I like their quarterback a lot more, and I like their coach a lot more. So that's why if we get there where it's Oregon versus Miami, I would lean an Oregon because I think they're similar, but the better leans Oregon than it does Miami.
All right, so get your tickets for Indiana Ole Miss. People.
Indiana Ole Miss.
Hard Rock Stadium for the championship sometime in February. Very good. Very astute analysis there, Rel. I mean, look, it's been impossible. If the professor is confused, to use your word from earlier in the program, about this year's college football season, then that shows you how difficult it is. Because, I mean, this guy lives and breathes this stuff. I don't know of anybody more knowledgeable about it. Of the zillion handicappers we talked to, always had a good opinion. And this year it was Burial City.
Oh, yeah. No, it's just hard. The parity. The parity is there in a way. That's why the NFL is so hard, because from the best to the worst is not that far. As we've seen, Ohio State, like as good as they were, like it's not like they just walked over teams. Miami, it was the biggest upset since this playoff format. It was a 10 beating a 2, arguably at a number 1. Like, and they beat them soundly. Like they were winning the entire game.
They hammered them. Yes, this was 120-108.
So yeah, again, Ohio State could have won, but Miami controlled that game. Like it's a different world. Like it just is. So what you get is very hard to read week in, week out situations.
I would agree. I mean, look, the numbers reflect this. It's not like they're tiny spreads, but 3 and a hook and 4 points, reflective of the idea that, hey, what the hell do I know? I don't know. I'm going to root for Miami here and hope that we were dead wrong about Mario Cristobal, that he becomes a national championship coach. And we will hear the dulcet tones of Joe Zagacki going, we did it! Saw Scotty Mack yesterday, old producer from the WIOD days.
Oh, nice.
We were thinking back to some of the hysterical stuff that went on at that radio station, and even on our own show, which we had a lot of fun with. He had an incident that I will never forget. Actually, the aforementioned Chris Visser helped us out. I'll never forget this. And as insufferable as Chris can be, running down his resume every time he gives you a call, I will never forget that this is the nature of what the man was all about, right? Rival stations. Scotty Mack realizes that his girlfriend had swiped his car. And so because I was driving, he forgot to take the equipment out. And so we get to Melbourne to do the original spring training with like Charlie Huff and the then Florida Marlins. And we're trying to compete with QAM, who had just kind of come into existence. And they had the Marlins contract, which the program director at WIOD, this guy Gary Bruce, thought that was it, man. We were going to get buried. We had no chance to compete with anything. Forget about it. Shut the transmitter off at 7 o'clock because everybody's going to be all in on this Marlins baseball in its first year. And they had Joe Angel and Dave O'Brien on the call. So actually the broadcast, what was very entertaining to listen to also, even though the Marlins were, a god-awful team, was going to win like 60 games. And there was a certain amount of euphoria to justify the whole idea that, okay, this could be really bad if you're the competing radio station at night against a first-year inaugural season of a franchise when nobody thought we were going to get another sport down here. Incredible. All right, and sure enough, we show up in Melbourne to do these special shows, the show that we're right there. We're going to bring you Marlins coverage like nobody else. Forget about QAM. They may as well be making their calls from a payphone somewhere outside of Orlando, giving you live reports on what's going on. And we have no equipment. And it turned out Visser ended up loaning us his stuff.
Oh, wow.
What was great, though, was the engineer calls us and says, you sound like crap. And I'm thinking, yeah, because this is this cheap-ass station that had just signed on. The owners there, they paid off like bandits. But at that time, they weren't investing a lot of money in what it was that they were broadcasting with. But I never forgot that. And there's nothing worse, right, than showing up and realizing, oh, crap, forgot the stuff. You've had that happen to you. I don't know. It happened to me a couple of times with the with the trivia challenge over the years. But I was doing a lot of blow at that time, so.
I did the one time we went to the Marlins, and I didn't realize that I had the equipment, and I was supposed to, or the equipment was at the station, and I was supposed to grab it.
Yeah.
But at least we realized it the day before, so either I could go back and forth, or like what happened, Ken came through like a freaking champ and was willing to drive up to Jupiter. But yes,
that's right. Oh yeah, that was a battle.
That was the time
we had bitched that we needed a hotel room up there because we don't want to drive like an hour in the morning.
Yes.
And then have to set up this stuff. Always something, Lubie. It's always something.
Always something, yes.
I mean, over 30 or 40 years of doing it, these situations continue somehow to arise. All right, great. Black Monday, not black enough. That was the title of the show. It's not black enough.
It wasn't.
You could put that out, and I'm sure we'll draw a lot of attention on various social media platforms.
Yeah.
If the title of the show was "It's Not Black Enough,"
yeah, I'm sure it will for many different reasons.
We may be shut down by various. Well, there is no FCC.
I was going to say the side that does whatever it wants now would love it, so we get away with it somehow.
Yeah, I mean, and that would be our summation about Black Monday, if you were a Miami Dolphin fan. And not only that, but I mean, that's totally discouraging to think that the guy that really, I mean, how summarily responsible in the end is Mike McDaniel, as much as anybody, correct? What would you say in terms of the failures of this team in this last couple of seasons? Okay, I mean, you could concede them. They didn't look like they were doing anything, right?
No, they went backwards. This, and I love this new reasoning. Before we go, well, they're thinking maybe they'll give him a real chance to win. He chose to come to the organization with Chris Greer, and a lot of coaches wouldn't have. So that's why he was touted as a guy. One of the reasons he chose to be with Tua. We saw the phone call. He was all over the Tua. So again, and that's why a lot of coaches may not have
sitting there knowing he's making $5 million a year now or whatever, 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Unbelievable.
So to now go, well, we're going to give him this was his real chance. He had 4 years with the two guys he wanted to come and be with. What are you doing? It's just so weird, though. The confusion around the whole thing is just so strange.
I'm laughing because Andy says that Flores sued them for not being black enough. Put that headline out there, Libby. See what happens. Maybe we go viral. Not black enough, and then take a clip out of the early portion of the program where we define exactly what we meant by that. I don't know if, you would have to give about 40 minutes before we got to the actual point. All right, great being with you guys. Have a lot of fun out there today. We're just a couple of days away. I'm amazed. I thought this was going to be Saturday, these college football playoff games, but then it struck me that they don't want to go against two NFL games because no matter how much Visine you gargle with after watching 2 football games, have you not had enough, Lubie? Have you not had enough? Do you watch 2 complete football games in one day and then come back for more?
I mean, I have.
Yeah, I have too. You're right.
I've watched 4 in a row. I want to use
how sick that is.
Single.
Is there that little value in life that we would just sit there and watch game?
100%. I used to do it from 12 in the afternoon until 1 in the morning. Not have any problem.
How much sugar is that? There was a giant full moon that happens once every other, century. Last night, did anybody go outside? No, because you're watching women's college volleyball. All right. We will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for being with us. For Mike Lubie, I'm Jeff DeForest. We'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:04.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.